right, thank you. Your next witness?
Your Honor, we call Dr. Alan Blaustein,
All right,
Blaustein.
thank you, sir.
Oh, and I'm asking questions first. I believe I may be the only one asking questions
All
in
right,
this matter.
all right, thank you.
Can you please provide your full name?
Alan Scott Blaustein.
You're a doctor, correct?
Correct.
And you're a psychiatrist?
Yes.
How long have you been a psychiatrist for?
Since 1987.
And you went to medical school?
Yes.
What medical school did you go to?
Northwestern University.
Now, Johnny Depp was a patient of yours, correct?
Correct.
You understood that Mr. Depp had substance dependence issues, is that correct?
Yes.
Do you recall what substance issues, what substances Mr. Depp had issues with?
Marijuana, alcohol, opiates, I believe.
Did you ever have an understanding that Mr. Depp had anxiety syndrome?
I knew Mr. Depp had anxiety.
And how did you come to be aware that Mr. Depp had anxiety?
She told me that.
Do you recall having any conversation that Mr. Depp was bipolar?
There was some question about bipolar disorder diagnosis, but I do not remember any specifics about the discussion.
Do you recall having a conversation with Mr. Depp about a bipolar diagnosis?
No.
What behaviors did Mr. Depp acknowledge that should be changed?
Certainly his drug use and his turning to drugs to help relieve a lot of the psychic pain that he was experiencing.
In working with Mr. Depp, would you agree that Mr. Depp had fundamental issues with anger?
I would say that he expressed having issues with anger.
Mr. Depp expressed having issues with anger?
Yes.
Did Mr. Depp express having issues of anger towards Amber?
He expressed having anger towards her. Yes.
Do you recall what reasons Mr. Depp told you as to why he was expressing anger towards Amber?
I can't, no, I'll have to say no.
In working with Mr. Depp, was he ever suspicious of Amber having affairs?
I can recall now he expressed feelings of jealousy, but I don't remember if it was about affairs.
Do you recall any more detail about what Mr. Depp was feeling jealousy toward Amber about?
No.
In working with Mr. Depp, did you see that Mr. Depp had any issues with patients?
Yes, he was impatient.
What is your understanding about issues that Mr. Depp had with Amber?
It was a very chaotic relationship with a lot of fluctuations and ups and downs and lots of difficulty in emotional expressions and lots of anger in both places and high intensity affect and emotional expression. A lot of love, a lot of disappointment, a lot of fears.
Dr. Blaustein, I'm showing you what's been marked as Blaustein Exhibit 3. Do you recognize this document?
Yes.
Okay. What is it?
It's my invoice billing document.
Okay. This is from your files.
Correct.
You keep this document in the ordinary course of business.
Correct.
And this billing invoice is for Johnny Depp, correct?
Correct. And
so where it says 10 to 14 from your billing records, would this be is this your understanding the first time you met with Mr. Depp?
By phone, yes.
And in total, if we look at the number of sessions you either met or spoke to Mr. Depp that weren't canceled or he didn't show up, my count, it comes to 18 times you met with Mr. Depp. Does that sound about right?
Looks like 18 times.
Did you have any concerns about any of the amounts of medications that Mr. Depp was taking?
I had concerns about the Adderall that I would have expressed to him.
And what were the concerns about the Adderall?
I don't recall the specific conversations, but I would have been asking about how he was diagnosed to have ADHD, or under what circumstances he would take that, especially if he wasn't currently working.
Did you ever talk to Mr. Depp about what he did when Marilyn Manson would visit?
No.
When you were working with Mr. Depp, did you have any understanding whether Mr. Depp was still abusing drugs and alcohol or not?
Yes.
But you do recall that there were times in your working with Mr. Depp where he had breakthrough uses of drugs or alcohol?
Yeah, that his relative sobriety was not complete, yes.
And that's what you mean by breakthrough usage, that his sobriety, Mr. Depp's sobriety, was not complete?
Well, relative sobriety. Again, I said relative sobriety because he did continue to use marijuana almost entirely throughout the time that I knew him, with a short time exception, I think. So I called it relative sobriety. Then there'd be some breakthrough uses of other substances.
Okay. And when you say breakthrough usage, just so everyone understands, what do you mean by that?
He was trying to be sober. He was working on sobriety. And by breakthrough uses, I mean sobriety would mean the abstinence of using the substance. And so the breakthrough would be on a particular time he would have used the substance that he was trying to be sober of, abstinent of.
Okay. So in addition to marijuana, in the time you saw Mr. Depp from October of 2014 through January of 2015, there were times where Mr. Depp broke his sobriety with drugs or alcohol in addition to marijuana, correct?
I believe so, yes.
How did you come to that understanding?
He would have told me.
Do you know why Mr. Depp stopped seeing you?
I know he was preparing to leave to Australia to go to work, and I assumed that was the reason.
But he hasn't returned to you since he went to Australia in 2015, correct?
Correct.
And did anyone inform you as to why he stopped seeing you?
No.
Blaustein Exhibit 9 are notes reflecting your care of Mr. Depp, correct?
Correct.
And you kept these notes in the ordinary course of business, correct?
Correct.
And you kept these notes in a file for Mr. Depp, correct?
Correct.
And this is page 1 of those notes from October 2nd, 2014, correct?
Correct. Again, there will be plenty of places where I don't remember, I can't read what they say. They are for my current detention purposes only in these particular notes.
Okay.
And that's what makes them process notes.
In working with Mr. Depp, did he discuss any abuse he received as a child or an adolescent?
Yes.
And do you recall any difficulties that Mr. Depp was talking to you about in his relationship with his fiancée?
No, not from this.
What does it say?
Such a pain in the ass.
Do you recall why he was saying Amber was a pain in the ass?
No.
Okay. And what's the next thing say?
Well, in boxes about his kid's mom.
Okay.
And again, I think I have the word destructive.
What was destructive referring to? Do you know?
I don't know. No, I don't. Something relationship 14 to 15 years, mother of my kids. Out about officially. He didn't want to be his dad. Thinking I'm not abandoning like his dad. And then below kids, it says clear, better. She needed me to be all this. She needed me to be all this week or all this work. I don't know.
If we turn to the next page, it says page 2.
Yep, got it.
And then what's the next line say?
There's this violence, rage that we've had over a couple of years.
Okay, and so what is Mr. Depp referring to there?
I don't recall.
So do you recall that in working with Mr. Depp that he spoke about violence and rage in other relationships in addition to his relationship with Amber?
Well, rage and chaos. I don't remember violence, but I do remember rage and chaos. Now, again, the context of this is I had met him at this point. So this is an initial telephone consultation. So to see whether or not he was going to start therapy with me.
But in your working with Mr. Depp, was he talking about rage and chaos with relationships in addition to his relationship with Amber, correct?
Yes.
What other relationships was he talking about rage and chaos?
Again, I don't have the specific recollection, but I think it included the mother of his children and arguments about not child custody, child care, or visitation, or access to the children. On the left, it says raise 2 kids, 15 and 12. And then below that, she tried to protect me. She tried to protect me too.
You know what that's referring to?
My association now is his sister, but I don't think that's true. I don't have a specific recollection, no. Wouldn't take fear. Wake up to fight devil. Wait up to fight devil.
You know what that's referring to? Wait up to fight devil?
I think he referred to a devil as some version of internal depression and chaos that he felt. Something like an everyday phenomenon. He felt he was struggling. And he, I think, would label it as a devil.
So Mr. Depp labeled as something that was internal to him as the devil?
As a representation of something horrible inside of himself, what I would say.
So the devil was something horrible inside of himself, correct? That's what Mr.
Again, I don't think he ever said that, so I'm going to be careful here. The devil was a representation of the battle that he had many days when he woke up with the depression and anxiety and fears that he had.
Did Mr. Depp ever refer to himself as a monster?
Remember the word monster in my office, but I don't know if it's referring to himself or not. Maybe that'll be more revealed as we go forward.
Now, turning to Blaustein 12, which is page 4 of this exhibit, and there's a 3 at the top, correct?
Yeah.
And then to the right, that says Amber fiance, correct?
Correct.
And then there's
work through anger just below that.
And where it's saying work through anger, is that referring to his anger towards Amber?
I think what he was saying then is that part of his goal of therapy was to work through anger that he and his fiance had towards each other. Then going back to the left, better with girl about it. Self-destructive, hard to not put in front of me.
Do you know what self-destructive, hard not to put in front of me means? It's referring to?
I think self-destructive was his drug use. That's what I think referring to at this time.
I'm now looking at Blaustein 13, which has a page 4. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Okay. And at the top it says Johnny/Debbie, correct?
Correct.
All right. And then the date, it says 10/what?
I think that's 10/7.
And so it says JD 10/21/14, correct?
Correct. A lot of things, work, intense work, fatigue. Need a minute. Here I can say with certainty his words, shit with my girl.
And what's that referring to?
Difficulty he was having with Amber.
Do you recall what he was talking about, what difficulty he was having with, Mr. Depp was having with Amber?
No.
The next line looks like it says she refuses to accept.
Correct?
Do you know what Amber refuses to accept? What Mr. Depp was referring to?
Nope.
And to the right, it says Amber what?
Amber wedding.
Were you talking at this point about potentially Mr. Depp and Amber marrying?
Yes, he was talking about that, yes.
Okay. And then what does it say under she refuses to accept?
Wedding February.
And then what's next?
May not want to go to marriage, 51 years old.
Were there any discussions that you had with Mr. Depp where he had concerns about the age difference between him and Amber?
I don't think so. No.
Okay. But what does it say under 51 years old?
A lot of life experiences. You're being my mother and psychotic sister.
What did you understand Mr. Depp was referring to where you wrote "You're being my mother and psychotic sister"?
I think that's something that he said to, he told me, he said to her that he was.
That Mr. Depp said to Amber, "You're being my mother and psychotic sister"?
That's what I would think, yes.
Okay. Then the next line.
High tolerance for marijuana.
Who has a high tolerance for marijuana?
He did.
All right, turning to the next page, which is Blaustein 15, and where I have a number 5 on the top there. What is it? Self-something?
Self-destructive very early.
And was Mr. Depp talking about himself being self-destructive very early?
Yes.
Okay. How is Mr. Depp describing that he was self-destructive?
I think, I don't recall, but let's continue and maybe something's there.
So he was trying to be sober from booze and pills, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then was it you who said reward?
Yeah, asking him about where can he get rewards elsewhere? Where did he get reward? I maybe asked him, where did he get rewards elsewhere? And there he said, in the past, MDMA, ecstasy, cocaine.
So what did you understand where he wrote MDMA, ecstasy, cocaine?
I'm not quite sure, but those are things that he had used in the past. There is another possibility that I had asked him specifically about that, but I don't think so. I think it's more likely that those are things he had used in the past.
Do you know what pills Mr. Depp was referring to be sober from?
I know oxycodone was the main thrust of that time.
And then it says, back to the left, it says left off.
Yeah, and that's probably a note to myself to try to get back to a reward loop mechanism, and it's parallel to a relationship. What kinds of rewards could come back to him that could be healthy? What kinds of rewards that could come from the relationship that could be healthy? And then talk about biology changes. So I made a note to myself there to talk about how the brain changes in the face of many of these drugs over time.
Did you talk with Mr. Depp at all that his brain can change as he continues to take these drugs?
Yes, I did.
And then it says 10/27/14.
More on relationship issues, being accused, in his word, of being manic, grounded by seeing children. Son is one of the positive aspects of the relationship. I assume he's talking about his past relationship there.
Mr. Depp was saying that Amber reminded him of his mom and his psychotic sister.
The relationship reminded him of his relationship with his psychotic sister and his mother, yes.
And Mr. Depp talked about that he was being accused of being manic.
Yes.
Did he say who accused him of being manic?
I assume from this it was Amber.
Turn to the next page, Blaustein 16. Yeah, and this is 10/29/14 at the top.
Mm-hmm. Mood euthymic.
What does that mean?
Attention. Normal mood. Attention decreased.
You mean by
memory,
attention decreased?
Difficulty with attention, paying attention. Memory, transitional difficulties.
And what do you mean by having transitional difficulties with his memory?
It would have been part of a maybe mental status test that I would have done in the first session, where he would have trouble holding on to memory of things from 5 minutes ago. If I asked him to remember 3 words, he would have had difficulty remembering those 3 words 5 minutes later after distracting him with other conversation.
All right. And then what does it say after that?
THC, a marijuana, as part of issue, tetrahydrocannabinol. That's what THC stands for.
So you saw THC as an issue with Mr. Depp's memory and attention, is that right?
Well, with the transitional memory, at least, yes. Perhaps the attention. MSE, mental status examination. More present, more attention. off on dates. Asked when I would ask him about what today might be, what today's date was, perhaps is what that's referring to.
So Mr. Depp was off on
what date that was.
date. Turning to the next page, Blaustein 17. It says JD at the top, and then 11, 10, 14. See that?
Yep, I have that.
Okay. And Mr. Depp came in to see you on 11, 10, 14.
Correct.
Okay. And what's the first line say?
Some clouding, probably secondary to THC.
What do you mean by clouding?
Would have been something in confusion or something about his mental state, or less sharp, less alert, perhaps.
What's the next line say?
It says no evidence of mania, hypomania.
What do you mean by that?
I didn't see in his presentation any evidence of mania or hypomania.
Okay. Next line.
Discussion about relationships, core issues of trust. Amber says context, contact. Don't know.
Okay.
Fruitless meeting with her therapist.
Did you ever observe Mr. Depp with mania or hypomania in any of your other sessions?
Not that I recall.
At 10:24:14, Mr. Depp came in for another individual session, correct?
11:24:14.
The first line says 15 minutes late.
15 minutes late. Clear. Relationship stabilizing. Looking at jealous parts of him.
What do you mean by that, looking at jealous parts of him?
Things that make him jealous and what his role might be in jealousy.
And what made Mr. Depp jealous?
Well, about what was happening there, but with Amber, I don't know. I can't recall. I see in my next notice it was a triggering point. On my next notice, triggering point, early breakup at 22, where an actress cheated with a leading man.
So was Mr. Depp jealous of Amber being with other men?
I don't remember that specifically.
Okay. And turning to Blaustein 18, which looks like it starts at 12:7:14.
Yeah.
Mr. Depp came in for an individual session.
Correct.
And then it looks like you have paranoia in quotes.
Mm-hmm. Would have been his word. And what he meant by that, the elements were fear, envy, and vigilance.
So Mr. Depp told you something about paranoia?
Mm-hmm. Well, as he defined it.
And his elements of paranoia were fear, envy, and vigilance, as he told you. Then there's, what's the next day, 12:18:14?
Yeah, let's see. 12:18:14, yes.
And Mr. Depp came in for a session.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Patient working. So psychotherapy on phone. It's just possible it was a phone session that I didn't mark as a phone session. Big fight with girlfriend yesterday. Struggling with how to separate. Let her tell you her feelings. Relationship needs to take care of you. Her to go to a safe zone, withdraw. Different than childhood experiences.
And then it's at 1:6:15, correct?
Correct.
And what are these notes say?
Patient late, 20 minutes. Positive hypnotherapy session. Goals to make a beeline to bed. using relationship to take care of the individuals. Let's see, not logical approach to Amber's work. Take care of emotions. Sobriety continuing.
And then Blaustein 20. Move down to the last page. And this is for 1-8-15, just to be clear.
1-8-15, correct. Slate, vulnerability, woman in studio who admired Amber. Threat.
What did that mean? What did you understand that?
That probably related to your prior question, that there was a woman who admired her that he felt jealous of. Let's see, the next thing is something of vulnerability. Instances of vulnerability and internal fear parallel to vulnerability in childhood. Inability. Free or fight, only way.
What does that mean? Free or fight, only way?
Free or fight, or free and fight is the only way. And my understanding of that is either to be free of the relationship or fight for it. And positive relatedness with Amber through dash vulnerability.
Did and 1-8-15 was the last time you saw or spoke to Mr. Depp as a patient, correct?
I believe that's true.
Did Mr. Depp describe to you at all how his jealousy would present itself, whether he was jealous of a man or a woman in relation to Amber?
It would make him angry. It would make him feel insecure.
Your next witness.
Your Honor, our next witness is Eric George. He was the attorney for Amber relating to the op-ed. Will you please state
All right.
your name for the record?
Sure. Eric George, E-R-I-C. Last name is George, G-E-O-R-G-E.
And could you also state your business address, please?
Sure. 2121 Avenue of the Stars, Suite 2800, Los Angeles, California, 90067.
And what is the name of the law firm that you work with?
It's Brown, B-R-O-W-N-E, George, Ross, O'Brien, Anagway, and Ellis.
And you are an attorney, Mr. George?
I am.
And I take it from the name of the firm that you are one of the named partners?
I am indeed.
Okay. What are your areas of practice?
Litigation, largely in the business and entertainment areas.
Have you handled defamation and libel matters?
I have.
Where are you barred? In other words, what states are you a member of the bar?
Sure. In California, New York, and Washington, D.C.
And are you also a member or barred in the United States Supreme Court?
I am.
Can you please tell us where you attended undergraduate and law school?
Sure. At Georgetown for both undergrad and law school.
What, if any, service did you have with the Council of the United States Senate Judiciary Committee?
Sure. I'm just pausing to get my dates correct here. In approximately March of 1999, I began service as counsel to the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee where I served through about mid-2000.
And what, if any, service did you have to the Secretary, the Legal Affairs Secretary to the Governor, Pete Wilson?
Sure. From about March 1997 to January of 1999, I was counsel to then Governor Pete Wilson, and my specific title was Deputy Legal Affairs Secretary.
Have you been recognized for your career achievements since you have been an attorney?
I'll say immodestly, yes, in various ways that lawyers are from time to time in magazines and publications and whatnot.
And what, if any, recognition have you received as one of the top 100 attorneys in California?
The legal paper annually puts out a list of the top 100 attorneys in California, and I've been fortunate to be selected as one of those for many years.
And what, if any, recognition have you had as being a super lawyer in California?
Same answer, except that's, I believe it's called Los Angeles Lawyer magazine. I could have that wrong, but again, annually they put out a list of their super lawyers.
All right. And are you also a member of the American College of Trial Lawyers?
I am.
What is one of the qualifications for becoming a member, being invited to be a fellow of the American College of Trial Lawyers?
Sure. So the college reaches out to individual lawyers who have distinguished themselves and generally occupy the top 1% of law practice. And it's an organization dedicated to the development of professionalism within the practice of law.
I'm going to now turn to Amber Heard, and I'm going to ask you, Mr. George, how long have you known Amber Heard?
I have known Amber Heard, gosh, it's got to be a good 5 years.
I'm going to be referring to an op-ed, and I'm going to use the term op-ed. It's obviously an opinion editorial that Amber Heard ended up ultimately publishing with the ACLU. And so in the Washington Post, December 18, 2018. So as I go through and ask these questions, I'm going to be using just the term op-ed. Will you be comfortable with me using op-ed and understand it to mean that particular publication on December 18, 2018?
Sure.
So what, if any, legal representation did you provide to Ms. Heard relating to the op-ed?
She presented to me a draft of the op-ed and asked for my counsel in terms of reviewing it, editing it, and finalizing it for publication.
When is the first time Amber Heard reached out to you in connection with the op-ed and reviewing the op-ed?
It was certainly within the time frame of December 6, 2018.
In connection with the op-ed, what, if anything, was your objective in representing Amber Heard with respect to the review and revision of the op-ed?
I reviewed it and spent some significant time on it to make sure that there would be no meritorious claim that could be brought against her in connection with a defamation or related type of tort claim. And ideally, with that in mind, to minimize the possibility of her ever being sued in connection with publishing it.
So, Mr. George, I'm going to ask you to take a look at exhibit number 9.
Yes,
Are you familiar with this document?
I am.
Please describe what it is.
As its title, it's a judgment of dissolution of the marriage between Amber Heard and Mr. Depp.
Were you familiar with this document and its contents when you represented Amber Heard relating to the review of the op-ed?
Yes.
And what was your objective in representing and advising Amber Heard on the op-ed in connection with this stipulated judgment of dissolution of marriage?
So my objective was to make sure that there would be no meritorious claim that could be brought against Ms. Heard in connection with the publication of an op-ed, whether that is a tort related to, say, defamation or something akin to it, but also including any contract-based breach claim arising in connection with the judgment.
And what, if any indications did you have from Amber Heard during that time frame that Amber did not intend to follow your advice or did not care if she was in a compromising position or might be at legal risk?
So let me answer that this way. Really 2 points. Number one, there was never anything that she said to me to the effect that she was willing to run some risk of being sued or that she wouldn't listen to my counsel or anything of that sort. Number two, that she affirmatively did follow in all instances my counsel with respect to these particular edits.
What, if any, legal advice provided by you to Amber Heard respecting the Washington Post op-ed was disregarded by Amber Heard?
None, to my knowledge.
What, if any, legal advice provided by you to Amber Heard respecting the Washington Post op-ed was followed by Amber Heard?
All of it.
What, if any, legal advice did you provide to Amber Heard in connection with the drafting and publication of the op-ed that was not made in good faith by you?
I acted in good faith throughout and with the best of my abilities.
All right, your next witness.
Yes, Your Honor. We have Jessica Kovacevic. She's Amber's agent, and that's approximately 27 minutes.
Well, how do you spell the last name for me?
It's a tough one. Kovacevic.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon, Ms. Kovacevic. And Ms. Kovacevic, do you know that you are here today in your personal capacity and also as a representative of your agency, WME?
I do.
Ms. Kovacevic, what do you do for work?
I'm a talent agent.
Would you please describe in just very general terms what a talent agent does generally?
Generally, you procure work for your clients. You make introductions, you read their scripts, you negotiate their deals.
And I take it Ms. Heard is one of your clients?
Yes.
Did Ms. Heard have a successful career at the time you began working with her?
Yes.
And over the period that you've worked with Ms. Heard as her agent, what have your job responsibilities entailed?
Like I mentioned before, introducing her to producers and directors, writers, studio executives, procuring work for her, introducing her to people that can employ her, and then negotiating her deals, and then dealing with whatever happens on while she is working, anything that arises that needs dealing with.
Did you ever, at any point in time, see Mr. Depp hit Ms. Heard?
No.
Were you working with Ms. Heard when she was cast in the original Aquaman?
She was cast in Justice League first, and then the deal was to be in Justice League, the first Aquaman and the second Aquaman.
Did you assist Ms. Heard in procuring the role of Mira in Aquaman?
Yes.
Was Aquaman a successful movie?
Extremely.
Was Ms. Heard's performance in the film well received critically?
Yes.
Were there any negative views about Miss Heard's performance in Aquaman?
In the press, you mean? Or what do you mean specifically?
Well, in the press or otherwise.
No, there weren't any negative.
As her talent agent, did you attempt to renegotiate Miss Heard's salary for Aquaman 2?
Yes.
When did you do that?
We did that around this time last year.
Why did you attempt to renegotiate it at all?
It's standard to renegotiate these types of deals. It's normal practice. When a movie, when Aquaman came out, it was the most successful movie of all time ever. So even more so for that reason. But for any successful franchise movie, when you make a 3 or 4 picture deal like we did in success, it's typical to go back and renegotiate the deal.
And now getting to your point, why did you choose to do it last year at this time?
Because that's when her option was exercised.
And when you did get around to trying to negotiate, you and WME successful in doing that?
Correct.
When did he call Warner Brothers to renegotiate the next film?
It would have been the end of February last year.
What year is that? 2021?
Yes.
At some point, were there press reports that Ms. Heard was getting released from Aquaman 2?
There were online rumors for a while that she was being replaced.
When did you first hear about those?
First, I don't know exactly when, but it was way before. It was way before this. It was maybe even a year before this. 6 months before, maybe.
So nobody ever told you that Warner Brothers misrepresented the reason that they were replacing Ms. Heard, correct?
Why? No, why would they?
Did there come a time when Ms. Heard was restored to her role in Aquaman 2?
Yes.
At that time, what were the terms of her restoration to Aquaman 2?
The financial terms?
Yes.
She was going to be making $2 million on the second film.
Was that consistent with the original contract?
Yes.
Is this consistent with what Warner Brothers originally gave as the rationale for not using her in Aquaman 2?
The lack of chemistry between her and Jason?
Yes.
Yes.
So did there come a time when WME came to understand that Ms. Heard's role as Mira in Aquaman 2 was diminished in some way?
When she was sent the script, directly, which is the common practice for these films.
You're aware that Ms. Heard has a contract with L'Oreal, correct?
Yes.
Were you working with Ms. Heard when she signed that contract?
Yes.
What's a bot?
A bot is a fake account that's created to execute a certain objective.
What is your educational background since high school?
College.
What college did you attend?
NYU.
What year did you graduate?
2005.
What was your major?
Communications.
When WME first began working with Ms. Heard as her talent agent, you said she had had some success. How well known was Ms. Heard?
She was pretty famous. She was within the industry. You could call anyone and they knew who she was. So she had a certain level of fame. She had starred in movies and shows already by that point.
Okay, going back and taking a wider lens, over the time that you've the several years you've worked with Ms. Heard, how would you characterize the arc of her career?
I would say she was a known actress when I started working with her. Like I said, she was someone that you could call executives and producers and people about everyone, knew her name. She hadn't yet reached big star status, but she was definitely, she could get the lead of an independent movie. She could get the lead of a TV series. When I worked with her, we slowly started to strategically, have her work on some more prestigious projects and work with, better directors. And then when she got Justice League, that was a, turning point for her. And then Aquaman, subsequently, was obviously the biggest thing she had ever been a part of.
And is the arc of her career now on the upswing with her being part of Aquaman 2?
No.
Tell me what you mean. Why not?
Because typically, when you have an actor who is in a movie as successful as Aquaman was, their career totally changes. And they're in a different echelon. They, get way more offers. They're just put in a different place, position-wise with studios. They're more bankable, so they can greenlight projects. All of those kind of things are consistent with when you're in a blockbuster of that size. And with her, that did not happen. It happened, very significantly for her co-star. Obviously, he's the lead of the film and he's the title character, but even a small percentage of that did not happen for her. So that's my assessment.
What evidence sitting here today do you have that this caused her career any harm?
Because the evidence in that, in my experience and the experience of my colleagues in the experience of this business, your career takes a turn after something like that. She was very well received in the movie at the time. Everyone was very happy with her at the time. There was no issues. And then to have a complete downturn after that, and then have that coincide with constant tweets and negativity put out about her. I don't have a physical piece of paper of evidence, but it's the only logical conclusion I can draw.
Can you name a single role she has lost as a result of any activity by Adam Waldman or anyone at his behest?
There was a movie at Amazon that she had been offered with Gael Garcia Bernal. I don't know what the final title of it is called now. I can look it up. It had a working title at the time. That they took away from her. And, the lead actor who was a producer on it very much wanted it to be her and was very frustrated with the process. And no one can say out loud, we're taking this away from her because, of this bad press, because it's nothing she did, and it's all hearsay, and it's all, whatever. But there's no other reason.
Now, Ms. Kovacevic, you've testified a bit about Adam Waldman, correct?
Correct.
And can you point us to any career opportunities that Ms. Heard has lost because of any statements made by Mr. Waldman?
I mean, the Amazon movie, for one, is one that is tangible, because that is an example of something that she had before all of it that was then taken away. I know that a campaign she shot for Todd's via Katie Slater was scrapped and not used. There was not another specific example because like I said to you, no one is going to say to me, oh, we can't hire her because of these tweets or whatever. They just don't want to hire someone that has bad press around them from, these accusations. No one wants someone who's being accused of a liar and making something up and, abusing somebody. No one wants that association with their project.
And directing your attention 10 pages into the article, there's another quote from Mr. Waldman. Mr. Waldman states in this article, quote, quite simply, this was an ambush, a hoax. They set Mr. Depp up by calling the cops, but the first attempt didn't do the trick. The officers came to the penthouses, thoroughly searched and interviewed, and left after seeing no damage to face or property. So Amber and her friend spilled a little wine and roughed the place up, got their stories straight under the direction of a lawyer and publicist, and then placed a second call to 911, end quote. Did I read that correctly?
It just shows the top part of that on this page, but the top part was correct.
Okay. Did any was WME aware of Adam's statement, Mr. Waldman's statements in this particular article?
Yes.
Now, you testified a little bit earlier about there being tweets from Adam. I assume you were referring to Adam Waldman. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what, if any, impact did it have on Amber Heard's career and career path to have Mr. Depp's lawyer putting out statements in the press and in tweets that Amber Heard was lying, making things up, creating a hoax of abuse?
I think that his comments spurred on, it just added fuel to the fire. So there was already so much media coverage.
And that's what you observed?
That's what I observed.
I'm going to take you to Aquaman, and I'll call it Aquaman 1 just to make it a little bit easier to understand. What, if any, performance issues were raised with Amber Heard by anyone that was responsible for the filming of Aquaman?
No performance issues raised whatsoever.
And what was your understanding of how Amber tested with the audiences in Aquaman?
My understanding was that she tested extremely well.
And this is an Aquaman has reflected all the markers of a very successful movie at this point?
Yes.
You testified earlier that it's quite typical when you have a series of 3 to 4 films in a franchise or a series to be able to renegotiate as you go into the sequels. Do you recall that testimony?
Yes.
Okay. And why is that?
Because you make the initial deals, before the movie has done, well. And then when the movie overperforms like that, it's a custom.
In light of the success of Aquaman, would you expect that Amber Heard would be receiving endorsements as of this time?
Yes.
And what is the typical process that happens after someone has starred in a very successful movie, such as Aquaman and Amber with Mira?
The endorsement department would a combination of offers and then seeking out opportunities.
Now, given Amber's career trajectory leading up to and immediately after the success of Aquaman 1, did you expect her career to go on an upward, downward trajectory, or stay the same?
I expected an upward trajectory.
And why is that?
Because in success of a film like that, it's usually always the case.
And immediately after the successes of Aquaman, would you have expected Amber's annual earnings to increase, decrease, or stay the same compared to the previous 5 years?
I would have expected them to increase.
And why is that?
Because her profile had been raised internationally. She was in a movie that was successful worldwide. And when you are in a movie that performs that well worldwide, your bankability is stronger. You can finance an independent film more easily. You can greenlight a film more easily. You can just do more and for more money.
Do you recall what the budget was for Aquaman?
The first one, I don't know. It would have been probably somewhere between 150 and 200 million.
Immediately after the success of Aquaman, would you have expected Ms. Heard to continue to earn at least the fee she made on Aquaman on future big budget studio firms, or less or more?
You that becomes an actor's quote, their fee, and yes, typically, like, you will then earn your, not on a tiny independent film, you couldn't make that much money on that, but another studio film, another film at a streamer or whatever, something like that, you would make that much or potentially get a raise.
Other than Aquaman 2, has Amber obtained any roles with a budget the size of Aquaman's?
No.
Has she been hired for any films with budgets over $100 million?
No.
Immediately after the success of Aquaman, would you expect the success of Aquaman and her starring role in that film to increase her ability to get more movie studios to be interested in her, decrease, or stay the same?
Increase.
And did it?
No.
Would you expect her to get more TV roles?
Objection.
And why?
Why? Because I mentioned earlier in the conversation, TV and films are so blended now, and there's much less of a delineation between picking projects between film and TV.
And did Amber receive more TV roles as a result of Aquaman, the success of Aquaman?
No.
Immediately after the success of Aquaman, would you have expected Amber to star in more than one project per year, less, or the same?
It depends. If it was a big, Aquaman takes up 6 months of the year. Big movies take up longer time. Indies, you can do a couple of them a year. It just depends. So I wouldn't put a number on it, but definitely more than 0.
And has Amber starred in more than one project per year since then?
No.
Immediately after the success of Aquaman, did you expect Amber to earn between $5 and $10 million a year for the next 5 years?
I would have expected to renegotiate on Aquaman 2, most certainly. And so right there, that would have been significantly more. And she would have, yes, I would have expected her to earn more in a combination of TV, film, and more endorsements.
Was it your understanding that WME passed on to L'Oreal suggestions to assist them in being able to block some of the harassing Instagrams they were getting at that time?
Yes.
All right. Let's bring up 30 again, please. Now, did in fact L'Oreal suspend having Amber Heard on the International Women's Day campaign?
Yes.
What the conditions were for the renewal?
It was just essentially that they were renewing her. It was the same fee. That was the bulk of it. It wasn't, like a raise, but they were extending her.
Okay. And typically coming out of the success of Aquaman, would you have anticipated that Amber could have negotiated larger fees for commercial projects?
Yes, we would.
Okay. And why would that be?
Because her profile had been raised. She was, she had done something super successful. So typically that's what you would do. That would just be the standard practice.
When did you first learn about the change.org petition that was out there to try to get Amber Heard dropped from Aquaman 2?
I don't know when I first saw it.
Were you aware of it as of May 27, 2020?
Yes.
You earlier talked about bots in response to one of Mr. Chu's questions. What, if anything, was your understanding of these bots at this time, during this time frame?
My understanding is just based off my own, mainly based off my own research, just clicking on the accounts myself, and then discussing it amongst the team.
And what did you learn when you did that?
Just as I would go through, daily, just looking at comments or, just the negative comments, clicking on them, many of them were just kind of accounts made for this kind of commentary, or just accounts that just had, no followers, no posts, nothing, or following just Amber and Johnny, things like that.
And I'm sorry. And so what did you learn from clicking onto those that led you to believe they were bots?
They weren't consistent with what I know to be actual Instagram accounts.
When you look to set a career trajectory for an actor who just broke out in a major franchise film, would you look to other comparable actors' careers to ascertain what type of acting jobs they could get?
I mean, I've been doing this job for, quite some time, so I don't necessarily look to one or the other, but in general, when someone is in, what was at the time the most successful film ever released, the natural progression is growth and more films, more work, more money, all of that stuff.
And when you say the most successful film ever, you're referring to Aquaman 1, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Are comparable actors' salaries used in your mind to ascertain the asking price for an actor in a similar film? Are comparable actors' salaries used in your mind to ascertain the asking price for an actor in a similar film?
Yes.
Would you consider Ana de Armas' career to be comparable to Amber's in measuring, where Amber would have been after Aquaman 1? Or should have been?
Ana de Armas, yes. I would say that would be a comparable, that would be a good comp.
All right. Yes, ma'am. Is that what you have for today?
That's it.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to the end of our day and the end of our week. So I want to make sure you have a good 3 days and come back for our last week of testimony and enjoy your weekend. I just want to remind you again of what we need to remember as we go through the weekend, okay? So you're not to read anything about this case. You're not to watch anything about this case. You're not to listen to anything about the case. This applies to television, newspapers, magazines, the internet, and any online sites. Further, you're not to read, watch, or listen to anything about this case on any social media networking site or streaming service. In addition, you must not communicate with anyone about the case, whether in person, over the phone, by email, text, or instant messaging, or by any other electronic or non-electronic means. This includes your fellow jurors, friends, family, co-workers, acquaintances, and strangers. I also instruct you that you cannot do any research or make inquiries about this case, whether online or by any other means. For example, you cannot look information up on the internet that is related to this case or related to the persons involved in this case, nor may you consult dictionaries or other reference materials. What you learn about this case is limited to what you learn in the four walls of this courtroom when proceedings are underway, all right? So enjoy your weekend. We'll see you early, 9 o'clock, ready to go Monday morning, okay? Thank you. All right, and also in this matter, Ms. Hurd and Mr. Depp, please do not do any posts on social media over the weekend and no public statements, please. All right, and we will see you on Monday morning. As for the attorneys, 8 a.m. tomorrow. I thank you for all the jury instructions, objections. We're going through those now. I appreciate that. I am missing some exhibits from depositions that we need to get, so if you get with Jamie so we can get those and get them all taken care of for the week. Another thing that I'm doing just to give you information, I'm getting IT together to do a laptop for the jurors for deliberations. The laptop is going to be scrubbed, and it's just going to have the audio and the video files on them, okay? So they're going to get me a mock-up by Tuesday. It's not going to have any Wi-Fi or internet or no passwords, so it's just going to have that on it. So once I get it and I approve it, I'm going to have both parties take a look at it and make sure everything is on there. That's supposed to be on there, and that's going to go to the jury when the physical evidence goes to the jury, okay? It just seemed like that was a better way to do it for the audio and the video files, okay? As far as times go, I can give you your updated times as of this minute. For plaintiff has used 42 hours and 45 minutes. Defendant has used 53 hours and 1 minute. So the time remaining for the plaintiffs is 18 hours and 30 minutes. And the time for the defendants is 8 hours and 14 minutes. Okay? So anybody have any other issues before we're done for tonight?
No, thank you very much.
Not at this
All
time.
right, we'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Yes?
Thank you.
Okay,
All rise.